Hello everybody and welcome to week 6 of our Gulliver vlog. This week we have been doing the same as last week, so we've been working on Gulliver in the mornings, and in the afternoon we've been doing other online projects which hopefully we'll be able to share with you next week. So to continue what we started last week, I think I finished off by saying that I was starting to papier-mâché a balloon to make a Lilliputian's head to see what that would do. This is the result of my balloon antics. I'm quite pleased with it actually. It gives a slightly smoother finish than the sculpt, gives him a little bit more of a difference from a human face, which I quite like. So I think we decided that this will be the way we'll make the Lilliputian, the main Lilliputian characters. There's about 4 of them. Their heads will be made this way, and we'll save this more sculpted face, which you saw on the full-size Lilliputian last week. We'll save that for a miniature Gulliver, we think. Then, as we said, Noel had started making a row of Lilliputians for a sort of crowd scene. So here we have the result of this prototype.
Yeah, so there's obviously points where we've got main character Lilliputians who interact and talk a lot with Gulliver, but we've also got points where there's supposed to be loads and loads of them. There's supposed to be loads of them in the city or at the beginning when they capture him. So we were trying to find ways to represent the same race, the same type of people, but to have them be able to sort of pop up and make a kind of crowd scene appearance almost. So this is very much a prototype. They're going to look a bit more serious than this. They look very happy to be involved. But we wanted to be able to do something where they could all move their arms simultaneously and where they could all, move their heads, and we get at least a little bit of life and movement out of them. So I think that sort of works pretty well.
Yeah, we made a decision really that arms and heads were the things we wanted them to be able to move because they were the most useful for the moments when they were in a crowd.
Yeah, then they can do a little cheer, or then we wanted them to be able to sort of pull along.
Or to all be able to kind of go
whoop
and look. So that's those.
So yeah, that works well enough.
Then we moved on to more puppets. So in the last chapter, the last part of Gulliver's Travels, he goes to Hoonhim land, I think that's how you say it. And that's basically a land of horses where horses speak to each other, and he learns the language of the Hoonhims. So we need a horse puppet. This presents many difficulties, but we started with, I had this funny idea that I wanted to do something in layers like this, almost like a kind of 3-dimensional puzzle in a way. It worked kind of, but as soon as you face it to the front, it doesn't read in any way, it doesn't look like anything, so we were not sure about that. It has its problems, but nonetheless we thought it was interesting. Then we moved on to try something a little bit different. So you can see next to me this beautiful big, this would probably be more the scale we will actually use, but made out of strips. Well, we feel it looks a little bit bridle-like, don't we? So we're not sure about it. I made a sort of miniature.
And that, of course, for that section, because these horses are very independent and they're actually in charge of that land, it kind of seems inappropriate, doesn't it?
Yeah, that they should be domesticated or look domesticated. So this was a littler one that I made. I made it slightly different on either side to kind of see what we liked the look of. But again, and it had a sort of handle at the back. Obviously not to scale. Again, same problem. Very similar, in fact. 2 kind of bridle-like, we think. Also potentially reminiscent of other horse puppets that have been made in the past.
Certain ones you can't really get away from.
So we thought we're going to try going back to the 3-dimensional jigsaw idea. Not least because we also ideally want their horse head to be able to pack flat. When we're travelling around, we really need things to be able to pack flat. So we've gone back to that, made the pieces, and then you're now looking into how they slot together.
Yeah. More
on that next week. Also.
Yeah. So as you're saying, like it's another layer of complication for us is the fact that we have to be aware that these shows have got a tour. So a lot of the times, if you're building something like this and you knew you were in one theatre for 6 months, then you would be able to build a solid thing and it wouldn't really matter. For us, of course, we've got to be conscious that it's got to be able to be put up and taken down pretty quickly, and also it's got to pack to a size where we can actually transport it all. Doesn't matter if there's 1 or 2 big things, but you can't have everything being incredibly difficult to move around. So I've been looking at the set as well as doing stuff with the horses. If you remember the set model, we were talking about having a mast with an anchor at the back. So I've been looking at bits and pieces for that and ways that we can potentially get the size and the scale that we want, but also have it be easy to put up and easy to pack down. So we'll show you again a few pictures at the end of this to show these things in a little more detail. But this basically comes off and the front of it folds completely flat. I really like the sort of plank effect. I think it goes well with a kind of nautical feel. And then inside it would have various pieces that slot in to make it hold its shape for the central mast. I was also looking at the anchor pieces themselves and the ways in which we might be able to collapse them. And I think it's also worth mentioning that if you've seen any of our other shows, we like things to have more than one purpose. If they're there on the stage, we like to be able to use them in as many ways as we possibly can to help us tell the story. So for Great Grim Tales, as you were saying before, for example, we've got a gravestone, because the beginning of the show is set in a graveyard, but then that gravestone is used as a window, it's used as a bell,
as a fireplace.
it's used as a fireplace. So, and that transformation is something that we really enjoy, I think. You know, it's a really magical
it's sort of
thing.
getting magic out of simplicity, which we quite like.
Absolutely. So these obviously are part of the anchor, and then I've been looking at ways that not only that they could transform into something else, and I don't want to give too much away about that because we've got a little trick up our sleeve that we think
come and see the show.
should be quite fun, but also ways that this could potentially pack flat as well. So I've been thinking about having 4 separate pieces for the anchor, and also about doing something very similar to what we've got with the mast here. So this part of the anchor, in fact, is made up of sections that that can come off and then fold flat, and then the 2 sides of the anchor will also separate and they'll fold flat together. So the whole thing should fit into the bottom of one of our trunks.
So there you are. That has been our week's work on Gulliver. We are quite pleased with how we're progressing so far.
Yeah, I mean the next step now really is actually into. So I'm going to start next week, I think, by looking at the horse's head and how it's going to slot together, but also by doing some real world measurements of how tall we want this set to be, how wide we want it to be, and then you get onto the scary bit where you're actually cutting the first pieces of actual wood and board.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah.
So there we are. Thank you very much for watching again, and we hope you come and join us for next week's episode.